So another driving video. Because when I'm driving, I'm so stimulated. Everything is, there's so much coming into your vision. You get stimulated, and also you're sitting there, and you can think. So I was thinking that I'd like to share about getting curious. When you get out of yourself. I had this conversation not too long ago with somebody, and I'm reminded of it now, is that in these insecurities, so a lot of us are in fact, most people are walking around with these insecurities, feeling inadequate, inadequate, is that a word? Feeling inadequate, feeling less than others. And when you feel like this, you don't truly experience life. You're not truly, I'm going to close all the windows, it's going to get hot in here. You're not truly experiencing life to your fullest because you are afraid to touch the outside world, because you're afraid that they will see you. So you are afraid to be in full expression and fully curious. You're also trapped inside of your mind. You're trapped inside of yourself and not fully bringing yourself to the surface. And in my own self, when I understood this, when I understood that I was equal with all people, not above, not below, equal, just eye to eye, and it really resonated with me, I started getting curious about other people, because I could see the layers and layers and layers within myself, layers of taught ways of being, all sorts of beliefs that I was holding when I started going through my own spiritual awakening. And within that was also letting go of alcohol. Because what is alcoholism? Alcoholism is just drowning out the outside. It's a coping mechanism. It's helping you cope with life. And so when I started going through the process of going through my own self-healing, and which is a lifetime process. This is a forever thing. And when I got to the point, I did a session of Theta healing, and within that, I started realizing that there's these beliefs that were built when I was tiny, and I started breaking these beliefs, and I realized that I'm even with all people, that everybody in the world has come to serve has a purpose and no purpose at the same time. It's always paradoxical. But of the same worth. And then I started getting curious. Really looking at other people, because everybody is different. And everybody has their own little quirks and their own little ways of being. And when I started getting outside of myself and outside of feeling inadequate and everybody I'm meeting trying to hide myself, I started and quit being afraid of people, is when I started noticing more people. And then I started noticing that everybody is doing that. Everybody is, most people that I met are hidden within themselves, are kind of in that, like incubated, like they're in within themselves, closed within themselves. And then I started getting really curious as to why, because up till not too long before that, if I would have met those people, I would have been insecure next to them, or feeling, when we're so afraid of showing ourselves, we don't even see others. We can't see them. When I quit being afraid of showing myself is when I could actually see others, and I could see that same fear within others. And up until that point, I was pretty much oblivious to it. I mean, unless I met somebody with serious insecurities that I could see that, were further in depth than mine, then I could see it. But and then you start getting really curious about people and their psychology, like what made them that way. How did they become that way? What are their beliefs? And it's a completely different way of thinking and being and feeling. And when you get into that curious mode, it's like an opposite. It's in the first mode you're inward, and this is like an outward. You're looking outside of yourself, curious. And within those mirrors that you see within other people, you see yourself, and you can do your own self-work, your own self-finding yourself. If you get really curious about other people, because we can't see ourselves. We can't see ourselves. I mean, sometimes we get glimpses, but we get glimpses through a clouded mirror. Oh, that really reminds me of the book, The 4 Agreements it's just the book, The 4 Agreements. It's an excellent book. You can find it also on audio and listen to it. It's one of the better books for a spiritual, when you're on this spiritual journey. It is a really good book. The foreword, it reminded me of the foreword, talks about smoky mirrors, and that we see ourselves through mirrors. Now, get beyond that point, and then it gets into the flowing text, and it's different. Like when I read it, the first part of the book, that smoky mirror part, was a little bit, because of where I was on my spiritual journey, it was a little bit hard for me to grasp. But now I get it. And that is how we see ourselves. We see ourselves through other people. We see our attributes in other people, and other people make us react in certain ways. So in those ways is how we learn about our own selves, if we have self-awareness and we are looking for it, especially looking for it, or even open to seeing it. So that was on curiosity. Today I worked at the robbery. There were so many during the day. There were so many things that I wanted to make a video about. But right now I just feel like being for a little while. I'm on my way home. I have shopping in the car and the dogs, and it's getting hot in here. So I imagine if later, if something comes up, I'll re-record. Okay, so thanks for watching.